played a lot of Melty Blood, and when you play as much as I do, you end up learning a lot of things. So this video is going to be about everything Melty Blood, including story, gameplay, secrets, and even some community stuff. So sit down and relax as I take you through the Melty Blood Iceberg. Type-Moon. Type-Moon is a visual novel developer founded by Konoko Nasu and Takeshi Takeuchi. The pair have been friends since junior high and formed Type-Moon in 1999 with a few other key contributors to begin work on their first visual novel, Tsukihime. Tsukihime was released in 2000 and was a big success for the new company. They would go on to create even more visual novels, including the popular Fate Stay Night series. And the rest is history. Tsukihime. Tsukihime is Type-Moon's first visual novel from 2000. It follows the story of Shiki Tono and 5 possible story routes, each with their own heroine. Ciel and Arcoade's routes are the nearside routes, dealing with more supernatural elements, while Akiha, Hisui, and Kohaku's routes are the farside routes, which deal with the Tono family's dark secrets. Kagetsu Toya. Kagetsu Toya is the sequel to Tsukihime. After Shiki gets hit by a car and put into a coma, he gets stuck reliving the same day over and over again in his dreams until he can find a way out. Unlike Tsukihime, which was a straightforward narrative, Kagetsu Toya is a non-linear story, and it's up to the player to choose what they want to do each day. Kagetsu Toya was the debut of many fan-favorite characters, including Len, Nania Shiki, and Koma Kishima. Soft Circle French Bread and Watanabe Productions. Soft Circle French Bread are the developers of the Melty Blood series, along with a number of other fighters. Originally, they went by the name Watanabe Productions. As Watanabe Productions, they made a few doujin fighters like the Queen of Hearts series, Air Fighter, and Glove on Fight. They partnered with Type-Moon to create a Tsukihime fighting game that would combine the narrative of a visual novel with the fast-paced action of a fighting game. With the release of Act Cadenza, they started going by the Soft Circle French Bread name and created a couple of other fighters, including the Under Night In-Birth series and Dengeki Bunko Fighting Climax. They have a relatively small team of people, thus the Soft Circle part in their name. Kamone. Kamone Serizawa is the lead programmer and main battle planner for the Melty Blood series. He interacts with the community quite a bit and can be found live streaming French Bread's fighters on his Twitch channel. And he's not afraid to answer hard questions either. I have to give him props for that since most game devs are super reclusive. Kamone Serizawa isn't actually his real name, it's just an alias, and he's also not a pink-haired anime girl in real life either. Melty Blood games. As of 2025, there are 6 Melty Blood games. Melty Blood React, Melty Blood Act Cadenza, Melty Blood Actress Again Current Code, and the latest entry, Melty Blood Type Lumina. That is, if you don't count revisions like Act Cadenza version B. Visual novel story mode. In the first Melty Blood, the story was presented in a visual novel format. While it's not as long as your standard Type-Moon story, there's enough there to keep you entertained for a couple of hours. Depending on what battles you win or lose, you'll be put on different story paths, giving the game a ton of replayability. From Act Cadenza onwards, the visual novel story mode was removed, opting for a more traditional arcade mode. PC and arcades. Melty Blood started as a PC exclusive, but would get an arcade release with its second revision, Act Cadenza. It ran on the Sega Naomi hardware, and so did its sequel, Melty Blood Actress Again. For Actress Again Current Code, they'd switch from Naomi to the Sega ring-wide arcade board. These boards hosted a number of legendary fighters, and Melty Blood is just one of them. PlayStation 2 versions. The PS2 versions of Act Cadenza and Actress Again are quite different from their arcade versions. The biggest difference is the lower sound quality and effects. If you'd like to know more, I did a deep dive on both a while ago that goes into way more detail than I can here. Tsukihime Remake. The Tsukihime Remake is the 2021 remake of the visual novel of the same name. It was developed for quite some time and released half-finished, only having 2 of the original 5 routes. The remake follows the same general story of the original but adds some new characters, removes others, and has a much higher production value. It's in English too, so if you want to get into the story of Melty Blood, start here with the Tsukihime remake. A non-canon prequel. When Lumina was revealed, one of the first questions fans had besides, how will it play, was what's the story gonna be like? The original Melty had a multi-hour long visual novel story mode, so expectations for Lumina were high, only for them to be dashed immediately when it was announced that Lumina would be a non-canon prequel to the Tsukihime remake and none of the original Melty Blood story would be adapted. The story that is in the game is inconsequential. There really is no plot. I imagine this was because they didn't want to spoil the remake that came out a month earlier or touch upon any of the plot elements that haven't been covered yet. This leads to some bizarre things happening in the arcade modes, like Shiki going around town, beating people up, soloing Vlav, and then encountering Arcoade for the first time. How this could be a prequel to the main story when the main character does a quarter of the work by himself eludes me. Downloadable content. Type Lumina has received its fair share of DLC. In fact, most of the content, including the characters, stages, and extra boss rushes, have all been free. The only DLC that is paid is the round announcers that replace the default announcer with the character of your choice. Scion Eltinum Atlasia. Scion Eltinum Atlasia is the main character of the Melty Blood series. She comes to town to find a cure for her vampirism and to kill the Knight of Wallachia. Scion's personality is dead serious and logical, to a comedic extent. Her weapon of choice is a gun, and you know what? I can't blame her, because if you were gonna fight vampires, super nuns, and a bunch of other weirdos, wouldn't you want a gun? Her other weapon of choice is the Aetherlight, a whip-like device that can attach to a person's nervous system, letting her read her target's thoughts and memories while also being able to control them like a puppet. She is also able to think in parallel, which means she can partition her thoughts to think about multiple things at once, kinda like a computer can run multiple processes at once. Thanks to this ability, she can predict outcomes of events as if she was clairvoyant. Tatari. Tatari is the main antagonist of the Melty Blood series. It brings people's fears, rumors, and urban legends to life, turning them into physical beings or events. Essentially, if enough people in an area believe in a scary story or myth, Tatari can make it real. This explains how characters like Nero Chaos or Roa can be playable in Melty Blood despite, not being alive. Hologram Summer. The Hologram Summer refers to the events of the first Melty Blood. Tatari creates this fake summer in which the characters are trapped in, where rumors and fears take physical forms. It's put to an end with the combined efforts of Shiki, Arcoade, and Scion. A year later in Actress Again, Dust of Osiris recreates the events of the Hologram Summer to fulfill her own goals. This is referred to as the Hologram Summer Again. EX moves are supers, moon skills are EX moves. In most fighting games, EX moves are enhanced versions of special moves, but in Melty Blood, EX moves act as your supers. Melty had no EX moves in the traditional sense. That was until Type Lumina added moon skills that act like EX moves. So, EX moves are supers, and moon skills are EX moves. Got it? BC Air Throw. BC Air Throw is the classic Melty air combo B&B. It involves pressing the B and C button, jump canceling, pressing the B and C button again, and then doing an air throw. It's super easy to do, so it's perfect for beginners. When in doubt, BC Air Throw. Special time up animations. In Type Lumina, there are special animations for when you lose by timeout. Here are a few examples.
うまく収まったかな。タイムアップ。本番はここからです。俺も付き合いいいな。反省してください。諦めません。タイムアップ。諦めません。選曲を見誤りました。勉強になりました。
Color Edit Secrets. In Type Lumina's Color Edit mode, certain palettes will add or remove accessories. For example, Arcoade can get gloves, you can change the length of her leggings, or you can give Roa a shirt. It's a small feature, but gives you an extra bit of expression in your custom colors. 17 Cuts Reference. On the Versus screen for Type Lumina, slashes appear before the characters. This is a reference to Tsukihime when Shiki slashes something 17 times, which I will not spoil. Go read Tsukihime. This is also the number of hits his arc drive and last arc do in Classic Melty and Type Lumina, respectively. Mizumi Wiki. The Mizumi Wiki is a fighting game wiki that focuses on anime fighters and obscure fighters. All of French Bread's fighters have pages on here, and it's the perfect place to go for info on any Melty Blood character. If you're learning Melty, the Mizumi Wiki will be your best friend. Matchmaking Discords. This may sound like a weird Melty-based dating thing, but it's not. Matchmaking Discords are Discords created for the sole purpose of playing Melty, discussing Melty, getting advice on Melty, and everything in between. These Discords are a great place to come if you're a beginner, want to know when tournaments are going to happen, need questions answered, or just want to chill. You can find the links to them on the Mizumi Wiki. But before joining, make sure you follow the rules, be respectful, and have fun playing some Melty Blood. CCC Caster and the Community Edition. CCC Caster is a neat little application used by the community to play Melty Blood Actress Again current code online. CCC Caster is preferred over the vanilla version because it has better controller support and uses rollback netcode for a smooth online experience. The Community Edition is a version of the game that is repackaged by the community, which includes CCC Caster, that you can pick up for free. Now you may be wondering about the legality of all this, and well, bathroom game. Melty Blood has a reputation of being a bathroom game, but what is a bathroom game? With a laptop, you can play Melty almost anywhere, and people do, which led to the game getting this reputation of being a game that is played in a bathroom or other strange places like a Denny's parking lot. Melty was never as popular as other games at tournaments, so these impromptu setups became a common occurrence, and the idea of Melty players play their games in a bathroom caught on. Honest Mids Michael. Honest Mids Michael is a nickname given to the Crescent Moon style version of Roa from Actress Again current code. He is one of the best characters in the game with insane space control and projectiles that'll keep you in block stun for eternity. In the hands of any capable player, he is a monster. However, one thing Mr. Honest Mids Michael doesn't have is an overhead. He only has mid attacks, so just block, and if you have a problem with that, it's just a simple skill issue. Absurd hitboxes in Melty Blood history. Melty Blood isn't a fighting game known for its balance. Some hitboxes are just crazy. The one that always comes to my mind are Satsuki's grab hitbox, that can grab you from outer space, or who could forget Nero's jumping C, or even Honest Mids Michael's EX Thunder Needle. Special voice lines. In Type Lumina, every character has a set of generic voice lines, but if certain characters are facing each other, they have unique sets of voice lines. Take Arco 8 for example. When she's fighting Shiki, she couldn't be happier. But versus Roa, she's super serious. Consecutive win voice lines. In Type Lumina, if you win 3 or 10 matches consecutively, you'll get some special win quotes.
もう3連勝早く帰りたかったのに仕方ないもう少し付き合ってくれる10連勝なんてすごいじゃないかなんか楽しくなってきたこの調子でどんどん行こう
It's kind of pointless because if you're playing that many matches, you're probably not reading the win quotes. But next time you go on a win streak against your friend, make sure to rub it in their face by pointing out these special quotes. Character select idle voice lines. In Type Lumina, if you leave your cursor on a character on the character select screen, they will start yapping. Here's an example.
いいよ準備万端だからね深呼吸深呼吸大丈夫鍛錬バッチリ負けないぞ
It's kinda cool, but also pointless. Noelle the Seagull. Noelle the Seagull is a reference to how Noelle sounds like a dying bird when you hit her. Her voice was really loud and frequent. So loud, in fact, that French Bread had to come in and lower its volume and frequency in an early patch. Would you consider this a nerf or a buff? Shield RPS. Shield RPS, or Shield Rock Paper Scissors, refers to the choices a player can make when using Shield in Type Lumina. There are 3 Shield follow-ups: A, which is a launcher, B, which teleports behind the opponent, and BC, which causes the player to fly forward with an attack. The metagame of choosing which option to use isn't as clear-cut as Rock Paper Scissors though, as each option has multiple counters. Like B shield can be anti-aired, air-blocked and punished, or shielded for a guaranteed punish. Shield RPS is a very controversial aspect of Type Lumina's gameplay, and it was worse on release than it is now, but thanks to patches, it's been toned down dramatically. Still, it's not everyone's cup of tea. Moon Drive. Moon Drive is a new mechanic in Type Lumina that replaces the Moon style system of Actors again. By pressing B and C together, you activate Moon Drive, which pauses the gameplay for a second. Moon Drive affects every aspect of Lumina's gameplay. It can be used offensively to enhance a combo, or defensively to give yourself some time to react to what your opponent is doing. It's one of your strongest tools, so you have to use it wisely. 2A AD Option Select. The 2A AD option select is an option select in Type Lumina that protects against reversals, mashing, and heat. It's very easy to perform and essential to the metagame of Type Lumina. It should be one of the first advanced techniques you learn if you want to take your Type Lumina gameplay to the next level. H Roa and H Seifuku. Most characters in Type Lumina are based off of their crescent moon styles, except for Roa and Akiha. They, instead, are based off of their half moon styles. But why is this? Well, for Roa, it's likely because his crescent style was stupid overpowered and they didn't want to bring that into Type Lumina. But for Akiha, it's a little less clear. Her moveset is based off of Seifuku Akiha, the Akiha in her school uniform introduced in Actors Again. My best guess is that this version of Akiha just fit Lumina better. Type-Moon Times. The Type-Moon Times are live streams hosted by Type-Moon where they talk about their current and upcoming projects. Kinda like Nintendo Directs. New characters were revealed often during the lead up to Lumina's release, so it was always exciting to see who would get revealed next. Nowadays, whenever one of these pops up, people cross their fingers for new Melty news, but that's yet to come. Ushi Wakamaru, Melty Blood, Censorship. When Ushi Wakamaru was added to Type Lumina, her outfit was tweaked to be a little bit more age appropriate. This is clear-cut censorship, but as someone who was introduced to her through Lumina, I honestly prefer the redesign. I swear I'm not some Puritan, but come on, look at this thing. But hey, each to their own. Secret bosses. The Melty Blood series is no stranger to some secret boss fights. In the first Melty Blood, if you know what fights to throw and what fights to win, you can find yourself on a secret path. If you lose one match, you have to go back to the start. Prevail over this Herculean task, and you are met with the ultimate opponent, G Akiha. G Akiha is super cheap, but with enough perseverance, you can cut her down to size. The series would go on to include a ton more secret bosses, including Powered CL, Neko Arc, and Aoko in React, and Giant Robo, Neko Arc Chaos, and Archetype Earth in Actors Again. Vlav replaced Nero Chaos. In the Tsukihime remake, fan-favorite character Nero Chaos is replaced by Vlav. As a result, Type Lumina cut Nero for Vlav. Vlav's a cool guy, but we were robbed of getting to see all of Nero's animations in HD. I do hope one day Nero gets his time to shine. Kohaku is a gamer. Kohaku is a gamer, and not only is she a gamer, but she is a fighting gamer. In Kagetsu Toya, Shiki has the opportunity to play her in a new fighting game, and she totally kicks his ass 6 ways from Sunday. She very well might be the best gamer in all of Type Moon. Kohaku's St. Quartz. During her charging animation, Kohaku can hold a number of objects in her hand, one of them being a St. Quartz, the currency used to summon servants in Fate Go. This was first revealed in the icon of a leaked achievement, and it caused quite an uproar among a few in the Tsukihime community. This implied that something Fate was going to be in Melty, and some purists scoffed at the idea. As more gameplay came out, it was shown that Kohaku was the one with the item, and the narrative shifted to, oh, Don't worry guys, Kohaku's a silly Billy. This is just a tongue-in-cheek reference. Then Saber was revealed, and there was nothing anyone could do about it. But hey, at least Saber would be the only Fate character in Melty Blood, right? Boss Rush is the true story. In Lumina, after clearing all arcade modes, Boss Rush is unlocked. Boss Rush has its own storyline with Miyako as the main character. Miyako is trying her best to spend some time with her brother, but NekoArc comes in and causes trouble. The second Boss Rush features Noelle, the third MASH, and the fourth is an original scenario with Miyako trying to put Shiki back together after NekoArc hits her with her rainbow beam attack, splitting him into 17 smaller Shikis. All of these stories are connected to each other in some way and are the only consistent narrative Type Lumina has. So technically, this is the story of Lumina. Len in Lumina. At the end of the fourth and final boss rush, NekoArc's plans are foiled yet again. She returns to her village to converse with a silhouetted, mysterious figure. They attack her with a triangle-shaped attack, and boss rush 4 ends on a cliffhanger. It should be obvious that this mystery person in question is Len, heavily implying that she will be the next character added to Type Lumina's roster. EVO, or the Evolution Championship Series, is the biggest fighting game tournament of the year. Thousands of players travel to Las Vegas to compete and see who will be crowned EVO champion in their respective games. Melty Blood has been featured as a main game in 2010, 2021, and 2022. Even when it's not a main game, the community holds a side tournament for both games, so no matter what, you get some high-level Melty action every year. Under Night in Birth. Under Night in Birth is Melty Blood developer Soft Circle French Bread's other flagship fighting game series. It's both an evolution and deviation from Melty Blood's gameplay. It's very much its own thing, but they do share some common elements, like all of the stages taking place at night, the rebeat system, etc. In a later revision, Melty Blood's main heroine, Scion, would join the Hollow Knight under her middle name, Elthenum. She carries over some unique mechanics from Melty, like the bullet gauge and air backdash. Most of her interactions break the fourth wall, much to the confusion of the characters around her. Raito, or Masaru Kuba, is the main composer for the Melty Blood series. His distinct arrangements add so much to the games he works on, and I don't think Melty would be the same without him. Even if you don't know him from his French bread fighters, you've probably heard his work, as it's really popular to use in video essays that have nothing to do with fighting games. That just goes to show that his music is so good people who don't even play fighting games like it. Blood Drain again. Blood Drain is the main theme for Melty Blood Actress Again. In Under Night in Birth, the song was remixed to be Scion's theme, Blood Drain Again. In Under Night 2, this theme would be remixed again, but unfortunately they missed the opportunity to call it Blood Drain again. Saber's Under Night reference. Saber's First Air Special Move series has a small reference to Hyde from Under Night in Birth in it. When performing these specials, sometimes Saber will exclaim, Hyde says the same exact thing when performing a similar special move. Melty's opening uncredited vocals. For the longest time, the voice behind Melty Blood's opening theme was unknown. That was until 2020 when series composer Raito revealed in a YouTube video that he was the one behind the vocals all along and intentionally went uncredited. Since Dojin games usually had female singers for their openings, he wanted to mix things up and use a male voice. However, he couldn't find a voice he liked to fit the part, so he just did it himself, and he absolutely nailed it. Melty Blood's main story takes place after the Satsuki route. Melty Blood's main story takes place after none of the endings found in Tsukihime. Instead, it takes place a year after Satsuki's route, something that doesn't exist. This is really just an excuse so that all of the heroines, Satsuki and Shiki, can be in the game, while also not putting him into a relationship with any of the girls. Nero and Roa are still super dead though. Remember that. Melty Blood manga. The Melty Blood series has had their fair share of manga adaptations, including Melty Blood, Melty Blood X, Hana no Miyako, and Peace in Paradise. The Melty Blood manga adapts the story of Melty Blood. Melty Blood X is a gag manga. Hana no Miyako is a Miyako-centric manga which takes place a year after the events of Melty Blood. And most recently there's Peace in Paradise, a manga in which Miyako and the characters of Melty Blood learn how to play Type Lumina. It's just as bizarre as it sounds. Controller preferences in Peace in Paradise. In the Type Lumina manga, Melty Blood Peace in Paradise, each character has their own preferred controller. CL likes to use arcade sticks, Miyako likes to use controllers, etc. It's a detail only fighting game players would appreciate, and I do. Guidebooks. Video game guidebooks used to be a big thing back in the day, but thanks to the internet, they've become redundant. Melty Blood has multiple guidebooks filled with all the info you'd need to get an edge in the arcades. Frame data, combos, character tips, and sometimes even lore. These are relics of a long gone era, but I like looking at them. Dust of Osiris is Scion. Dust of Osiris, the main boss of Melty Blood Actress Again, is actually the main heroine, Scion. And if you did know that, you probably didn't know why or how. Well, you see, the Dust of Osiris is a version of Scion created from the remnants of her soul that were consumed by Tatari when they first encountered. This soul developed within Tatari over time, and when Tatari was defeated, Osiris was able to take full control, gaining all of the powers of Tatari. Knowing that humanity couldn't be saved, Osiris seeks to hasten its destruction while keeping a complete record of human history in Hermes. Hope that clears things up. White Len. White Len is a Melty Blood original character. Before being destroyed, Tatari made a copy of Len, but white. She is the main antagonist of Melty Blood React. She has all of the powers of Len and some of Tatari. She can materialize the evil doppelgangers like Nania or Nero. White Len is the polar opposite of Len. Len likes Shiki, while White Len likes Nania. Len is quiet, while White Len won't shut up. Len is a Yankees fan, while White Len likes the Mets. You get the picture. Back Alley Alliance. The Back Alley Alliance consists of Scion, Satsuki, and Rispaif. They're homeless, they have no money, they keep the back alleys safe, and they have no relevance to the plot. Red Garden sabotaged Lumina. Red Garden is the yet unreleased second part of the Tsukihime remake. It's set to cover Akiha, Hisui, Kohaku, and Satsuki's stories. Likely due to spoilers, characters like Akiha Vermilion, Shiki, and Satsuki couldn't be in Type Lumina. This is probably the reason why we didn't get characters like Scion either, because how are you going to have a sequel to Tsukihime if it's not even done yet? If the remake was released complete, Lumina's roster and story could have been vastly different. X-Men vs. Street Fighter and Marvel vs. Capcom references in Lumina. In Boss Rush 3, after Shiki defeats MASH in the Neko Arc Arena, the two shake hands. This is a direct reference to the iconic screen from X-Men vs. Street Fighter with Ryu and Cyclops. This isn't the only reference to Marvel in Lumina, as some of MASH's moves are direct references to Captain America's Charging Star and Stars and Stripes specials. Miyako is the true heroine of Melty Blood. Scion is the main heroine of the Melty Blood series, but Miyako made her debut in the same game. As time has gone on, she's gotten more and more relevant, becoming a fan favorite character. With Scion's absence in Lumina, Miyako stepped up to the plate and became a central character in the Boss Rush story and got her own manga where she learns to play Melty. I think it's clear that Scion was never the real protagonist and Miyako was our true hero all along. Clone characters. In the first Melty Blood, the doppelganger characters Nania, Akiha Vermilion, Red Arcoade, etc. don't have unique movesets. They're straight up clones. The only differences are cosmetic and vocal. In Melty Blood React, these characters would start getting unique movesets and become some of the most iconic characters in the series. But for the first one, they were nothing more than, well, basically a skin. Reverse Beat. Reverse Beat is a system mechanic in Melty Blood that lets you cancel your buttons in any order you want as long as you haven't used them already. Reverse Beat is mainly used to make creative block strings to keep the pressure on the opponent. It's one of Melty's defining features and gives it its unique gameplay identity among a sea of fighting games. Reduce. Reduce is a mechanic in Melty Blood Act Cadenza and Actors Ante. By pushing the buttons to the rhythm of your opponent's combo, you can reduce the incoming damage. This mechanic is often praised as it gives the player in the combo something to do other than just wait for the combo to be over, and rewards good timing. Original arcade mode presentation. On release, the story mode / arcade mode looked a lot different than it does today. Instead of being sprite-based, it featured text bubbles with character portraits. In a later update, they swapped out the portraits for sprites. This was kind of a stealth change that they didn't really make a big deal out of. And honestly, I prefer it. I just like the sprites better. Red Arcuade differences. In classic Melty Blood, the Red Arcuade you see is an evil Tatari manifestation. In Type Lumina, on the other hand, this is an Arcuade who let her vampiric impulses take over and is acting purely off of emotions. That's why their designs are so different. Onion rings. Onion rings are what the community call Red Arcuade's projectiles, because they look like onion rings? Len Doritos. Speaking of food, Len's triangle attacks are also jokingly referred to as Doritos. I guess Melty players were really hungry when coming up with names for these things. Chains versus vines. In Arcuade's Arc Drive, she attacks her opponent with chains, but in Type Lumina, the chains are swapped out for glowing vines. The reason for this change is to better reflect Arcuade's connection to the earth as a true ancestor vampire. I for one prefer the chains because they're way cooler, but at the very least they're still present in her last arc. Roa Sprite reference. When Roa wins a match, he will sometimes transform into this guy. But who is this guy? It's a pretty deep cut reference. This is Roa's original appearance before he became a dead apostle, and was still a member of the church. Previously it was described and alluded to, but I think this is the only time we get an official look at the design. Fate Unlimited Code's similarities. Long before Saber was in Melty Blood, she had her own fighting game, Fate Unlimited Codes. Lumina Saber has a lot of similar animations and attacks from her Unlimited Codes counterpart. It's pretty clear that French Bread took some inspiration from Unlimited Codes when making their version of Saber. If you want to hear more about Unlimited Codes, check out my video on it. System changes. Throughout the many updates Type Lumina has gotten, a lot has been changed, especially with the system mechanics. For example, EX moves couldn't be cancelled into shield, Moon Drive originally made moon skills faster by 1 frame, and a new version of Forced Release, Lumina's Burst, was added as a direct response to the 2D 2A option select. In my opinion, these changes have been a net positive for the game. Act Cadenza 2v2 versus mode. In the PC version of Act Cadenza version B, there is an exclusive 2v2 versus mode. This mode is pure chaos and extremely fun. I really wish more fighting games had modes like this. Grab a few friends and check this one out. Current Code's strange release. Melty Blood Actress Again Current Code wasn't released in the traditional sense. You couldn't just go into a store and buy it. No, that would be too easy. Instead, you had to buy a special edition of the anime Carnival Phantasm, and in said edition was a link to download the game. Except there wasn't a serial key or any kind of DRM, so if you had that link, you could just share it to anyone who wanted a copy. This is why Melty has such a strong player base on PC, because they literally gave the game away and didn't seem to care. Kohaku wall hit. If Kohaku's arc drive collides with the edge of the screen, she'll bonk her head and bounce off of it. I can't speak for current code, but in Type Lumina, your opponent gets a full combo on you if this happens. It really adds the insult to the injury, and has happened to me more times than I'd like to admit. Shiki confusion. With the addition of Ryogi Shiki from Kara no Kyokai, Actress Again now has 3 characters named Shiki in it. As you can imagine, this causes a lot of confusion when trying to discuss the game. This was resolved by referring to the characters by their last names. So Shiki is Tono, Shiki is Nania, and Shiki is Ryogi. Simple, right? Fight Nania in Lumina. Your reward for beating Boss Rush 1 is getting to fight the one and only Nania Shiki. He has his own voice lines, special moves, and moon skills. It's a pretty neat piece of fan service. In Boss Rush 2, Nania appears as Noelle's companion throughout the events of the story, which is eventually revealed to be a dream, which is on brand for Nania. Hopefully one day we can get him as a fully fledged character.
そこは無理して立ち上がらないと。
Kohaku is extorting Scion. After the events of Melty Blood, Akiha invites Scion to stay at the mansion. In a win quote against Akiha, Scion complains about the rent being too damn high, but according to Akiha, she shouldn't be paying any rent at all, and it seems like Kohaku has been secretly extorting Scion behind Akiha's back. I imagine so Kohaku could afford to fund her army of robot Hisuis. Although, Scion isn't the only person who Akiha has invited to the mansion, as in Type Lumina she invites Ushi Wakamaru for a stay as well. Nitro Plus. Nitro Plus Blasters is an anime fighting game featuring the heroines of visual novel developer Nitro Plus. The game has Saber from Fate Zero in it as a playable character. Nitro Plus helped to make Fate Zero, so it shouldn't be a surprise Type-Moon let her be in their fighter. She's quite different from Lumina Saber, and if you want to know more, well, guess what? Got a video on that one too. Characters that have won EVO. As we know, Melty Blood has had a number of EVO appearances. The following are the characters who have won a main stage EVO title. In 2010, Garu beat Lord Knight in the Kohaku Mirror. In 2022, Jing beat Masoma's Vlav with Hisui. In 2023, it was Roa on Roa violence when Moai beat Dai, and at EVO Japan 2023, Kajiro's Noelle came out on top against Yukia's Roa. As you can see, Roa lost twice, thus Roa needs mad buffs. Voice lines that live rent-free in my head. Melty Blood has a ton of memorable voice lines. Everyone has their personal favorites, so here are some of mine.
ドリドリドリドリ。
タクシー残形に処す演武大炎上
There are no Melty Blood characters in Type Lumina. Type Lumina has no Melty Blood characters in it. No Scion, no Knight of Wallachia, no Reese-Bife, it's all Tsukihime characters. You might be thinking, but what about Miyako and Koma? They both either appeared in Tsukihime or were mentioned in Tsukihime, so technically they're not Melty Blood originals. So is Type Lumina even a Melty Blood game in the first place? Monte Cristo killed Roa. Since the Count of Monte Cristo is in Lumina, I thought I'd include this cool lore bit. In the Count of Monte Cristo's world, he killed his version of Roa, who never met Arcuade. Monte Cristo uses his black flames to destroy his body and soul, stopping him from ever reincarnating again. It seems he hates Roa in every universe as he carries this grudge with him to Type Lumina. The Orb. The Orb refers to Aoko's trademark Orb special move. These orbs can be placed on screen and act as mines, restricting the opponent's movement. They're especially nasty in the corner, preventing escapes, and they let her get full combos off of overheads and throws. The orbs are extremely oppressive, and one of the many reasons why Aoko Ozaki is top tier. Next time you fight a good Aoko, make sure you don't let her use the screen as free real estate, or you're gonna regret it. Melty Blood's Stun Bar. The first Melty is, well, a unique fighting game. One feature that never made it into any other iteration is this blue bar under the health bar. This is the Vital Source bar. It depletes when you move, take damage, or whiff shield. If you run out of stamina, you get dazed. In this state, you will take more damage and have difficulty recovering. I have no idea what they were thinking when they came up with this. No fighting game should punish you for moving around. Like I said, it never returned, thankfully, but this is just one of the original Melty's strange design decisions. Len Arc Drive outfits. When Len uses her Arc Drive, she has a number of different outfits she can cycle through. Cross Counter Special Animation. In Melty Blood React, if Ciel and Arcuade clash using a specific move, you'll get to see this unique sprite, only used for this interaction. This is a reference to this CG from Kagetsu Toya. Years later, they would recreate this pose in Lumina. Arcuade transforms back upon defeat. Upon defeating Archetype Earth, she will transform back into Arcuade. The same is true for Dust of Osiris, who will transform back into Vampire Scion before vanishing away. Maid differences. In Type Lumina, the maids Hisui and Kohaku can be played alone or together. If you play them alone, you get access to an additional special move, your movement speed is faster, and you have more health. The pair, on the other hand, can switch between each other mid-match, objects like the plants and bentos don't go away on hit, and the other maid can assist you in the fight. The pair is usually seen as the better character, but requires way more skill, since you have to effectively be good with two characters at once to get the most value out of the pair. Miyako Multiverse. At the end of Boss Rush 4, Neko Arc makes Type Lumina Miyako fight Classic Miyako, because Neko Arc can just do that, I guess. She doesn't have any new moves, but they do play the classic Tono Mansion theme. If you count the original, Lumina, Hana no Miyako, and Peace in Paradise, that's 4 different Miyakos. This is obviously the start of the Miyako multiverse, so don't be surprised when all of the new characters in Type Lumina 2 are Miyako variants. Coma isn't real. Coma in the classic Melty Blood games isn't real and is just a Tatari manifestation. So anytime that Coma and Shiki met up, it didn't count because the real Coma was chilling in the mountains somewhere. Banana Shiki. Banana Shiki refers to this video in which a Shiki player is playing like an absolute madman and winning. Thanks to his ballsy playstyle and bright colors, a legend was born. The legend of the Banana Shiki. Battle by the Hallway. Battle by the Hallway is a video in which the cameraman shows us the state of American Melty. Players fill the hotel room and spill out into the hallway. They might not have a lot of space, but that's not going to stop them from playing some Melty Blood. Kohaku's Secret Speech. In Melty Blood Actress Again Current Code, if you crouch with Kohaku, after a while, a secret voice line will play.
そうですね。権利関係を抑えたところで、遠野の方々は血筋を重んじますから、遠野家の取りは難しそうです。となると、明葉様そのものを陥落した方が早いのではないかと。いえいえ、もちろんそちらも一筋縄ではいきません。明葉様の私生活は隙がありませんから。語学友の羽井さんに協力してもらうというのも手かもしれません。お屋敷では完璧な明葉様でも、学園では気を抜いていらっしゃるでしょうし。あ、でももっと簡単な方法がありました。明葉様の弱点は四季さんですから。
CL Grip Strength. In Melty Blood Peace in Paradise, CL plays on an arcade stick. This is because she keeps breaking regular controllers with her immense grip strength. I know that means something to someone out there. Noelle Transformation. In Melty Blood Peace in Paradise, Noelle can transform between her older self and her dead apostle form, kinda like Jekyll and Hyde. She confronts Miyako in her younger form because Noelle, a 27-year-old woman, has a beef with a 5th grader because she's better at a video game than her. So, typical, normal Noelle behavior. Hisui Sandwiches. Hisui is always trying her best to improve her cooking, so she's always got cooking on the mind. When charging up, Hisui will list off sandwiches.
梅サンド、梅カツサンド、梅チーズサンド、梅レタスサンド、梅イチゴサンド、梅カニクリームサンド。
Kohaku is stronger than Avalon. In Type Lumina, Kohaku can use her Molotov special move to counter Saber's Avalon. After a knockdown, dash up, place the plant, and use Molotov immediately. This setup will break inputs and will cause Avalon on 214 BC to become Excalibur on 236 BC. Because Kohaku flies over the opponent, it flips the input. This technique is essential to surviving the Saber matchup. The greatest Roa buff of all time. In Type Lumina patch 1.41, Roa was buffed in the strangest way I've ever seen. They didn't change anything with the gameplay, but they made his voice lines louder. Truly, this is Roa's greatest buff, and very well might be the greatest buff any fighting game character has gotten in a balance patch. Tono Mansion Hell. Tono Mansion Hell refers to how everyone is always picking the Tono Mansion stage when playing online in current code. Some pick it because it's a simple stage with good visibility. Some pick it for the chill music. But most pick it because they're lazy and it's right at the start of the stage selection. Either way, if you play current code online, enjoy your stay at the Tono Mansion because you're gonna be there a lot. Achievement leaks. Type Lumina's achievements were leaked in early August of 2021 and revealed Noelle, Vlav, and Roa as playable characters before their official reveals. This is also where that Saint's Quartz image came from. Surprisingly, Saber wasn't on any of the achievements, so she was still quite the surprise. Hisui's possessed sword. During Hisui's last arc, she takes out a sword and cuts the opponent down before getting kicked back to normal by Akiha. This is a reference to the Take-Moon manga in which Hisui finds a cursed sword in the Tono Manor and tries to kill Akiha with it while scaring the daylights out of Shiki and Kohaku, Tsukihime characters in Fate Tiger Colosseum Upper. In Fate Tiger Colosseum Upper, a 3D arena fighter for the PSP, Neko Arc, Arcuade, and Kohaku are playable characters. Arc and Kohaku aren't their normal selves, but their magical girl counterparts, Phantasma Moon and Magical Girl Amber. Neko Arc is still herself though. If that sounds interesting, I have a deep dive on this game from the second Type-Moon June, the Fate Game Hoax. In 2007, French Bread released these screenshots of a supposed Fate fighter they were working on. It was going to be a 10-button fighter with the ability to control both Servant and Master at the same time. This was nothing more than an elaborate April Fool's joke. Coma is real. In Type Lumina, Coma is real, but since this is a non-canon prequel, even if he did meet Shiki, it doesn't count. Carmine is a scrapped Shiki moveset. Apparently, Carmine from Under Night In-Birth's moveset was derived from a scrapped idea French Bread had for Farside Root antagonist Shiki. This is a claim I could never find a source for, but people swear by it. If you think about it, it makes sense. Shiki is the only character from Tsukihime not in Melty, and Carmine has a very similar set of powers to him. Melty Blood is more popular than its source material. Melty Blood is way more popular than Tsukihime. This is mainly because it's a lot easier to get people to play a free fighting game than it is to get them to read. Although in recent years with official English releases, maybe Tsukihime can finally get some time to shine. Animated stages. In older versions of Melty Blood, these stages were animated, but in current code they were removed. This really hurts the atmosphere of so many stages and makes some look objectively worse. A reason was never given for this change, but it's likely to make the game run better on lower end PCs. React versus React Final Turned. React is the second iteration of Melty Blood. Then later, Act Cadenza released in arcades. But before they could get an Act Cadenza PC port out, they updated React so it would play more like Act Cadenza. This release was called React Final Turned, and is the most widely available version of React. Bounce Bonus. Bounce Bonus is the shortest lived feature in Type Lumina. Anytime you'd land a move that caused a ground bounce, the Bounce Bonus pop-up would appear. It existed to tell you that you got a ground bounce, but, well, I mean, you could kinda already tell that once you connected with the move. Ultimately, it was redundant and would be removed from the game shortly after it was added. Everyone hates Powered CL. In Type Lumina, everyone hates Powered CL because she is one of the most easy and effective characters in the entire game. She's got intercontinental normals, crazy hitboxes, and screen control that would put certain characters to shame. While I wouldn't say she's on the same level as Roa, she can be really boring to fight, which is way worse. And don't even get me started on her gun special move. Tsukihime and Melty Blood in Fate Grand Order. Melty and Tsukihime have crossed over into Fate Grand Order multiple times. Multiple versions of Arcuade and CL are summonable servants, while Scion and Nero show up in some of the story scenarios too. Basically, Fate Go has more Melty Blood characters than Type Lumina. So does that make Fate Go more of a Melty Blood game than Lumina? Saturday Night Fever. During her arc drive, Hisui will sometimes say, Saturday Night Fever! This is a reference to the 1997 movie of the same name starring John Travolta. Hisui even replicates Travolta's iconic disco pose. As to why she does this, Eltnum is Scion. Eltnum in Undernight might actually be Scion from Melty Blood. While there is no direct confirmation, there are a few similarities. The biggest flaw to this theory is Scion's name is Scion Eltnum Atlasia, and not just Eltnum, so it really is up in the air if these two are related. We may never know the truth. Saber's Gluttony. In Type Lumina, if you select Saber as your round announcer, you'll get a special intro when booting up the game. When the French bread logo comes on screen, instead of saying it normally, Saber will say it like she has a mouthful of food.
Type-Moon Delight Works French Pan.
This is because French bread is food, and Saber is a glutton with a bottomless appetite. Miyako revealed in limited edition box. Miyako's inclusion in Type Lumina was spoiled when the limited edition of the game was announced. On its cover you can see a chibi version of her and Shiki, probably the weirdest way to accidentally reveal a character. Mystic Eyes of Death Perception are not lore accurate. Tono and Ryogi's Mystic Eyes of Death Perception are one of the most powerful abilities in the Type-Moon verse, as they can kill anything, even concepts. But in the game, when you hit someone with a move that uses them, all they do is a couple thousand damage at best. I think that French bread should go back and update Lumina in current code to make these moves an instant kill to better reflect the lore. Honest Mids Michael was low tier. In Actress again, Honest Mids Michael was actually low tier. C. Roa was considered to be one of, if not the worst characters in vanilla Actress again. You can tell how bad it really was because they buffed him into oblivion in current code, creating the character that we know today. Probably one of the biggest fighting game glow-ups in history. Vlav fell off. Vlav used to be the bane of many players' existence here in the United States. However, as the game got updated, Vlav eventually got power crept by other characters and system mechanics. Plus, he was public enemy numero uno for a while, so a lot of top players learned the matchup. Now, Vlav is washed. The character has no future. The most unfortunate part of all of this is he was forced to get a job. Truly, one of the most tragic ends for a Type-Moon character. Wi-Fi is okay if you're close to the router. Wi-Fi is okay if you're close to the router refers to the secret win quote by Nania when you win on Wi-Fi. You may think he's lying because he's evil, but it's actually the truth. The closer you are to the router, the more network packets your computer absorbs. For best performance, put the router inside of your computer or tape it to the back of your laptop screen. The Melty Blood prototype. The Melty Blood prototype refers to the game Glove on Fight. This game was made right before Melty Blood. It's a boxing fighting game that has Satsuki and Ciel in it. This game was used to get the programmers ready for the production of Melty. It's a really strange game, and if you like weird fighting games, I recommend you check this one out. Melty Blood HD cancelled. After wrapping up development on current code, French bread wanted to make an HD Melty Blood, but Type-Moon were not interested in the slightest. So they moved on to Under Night In-Birth, and eventually Type-Moon would come back and was like, hey, make Melty again. And thus, Type Lumina was born. The Fate characters in Type Lumina are from rejected Fate games. So apparently, French bread was going to make a Fate fighting game. After Melty HD was rejected, they pitched this fighter to Type-Moon, who also rejected this idea. The reason Saber is in Lumina is because she's leftovers from that project. After they pitched the Fate game, they also pitched a Fate Go fighting game, but that was also rejected and is why MASH, Dantes, and Ushio Akamaru are DLC for Type Lumina. Scion's original design. Scion's design went through a number of changes throughout the development of Melty Blood. Originally, she was going to be tan to reflect her Egyptian ethnicity and fight using a bow staff. They would iterate on this design a couple of times before reaching the Scion we're all familiar with. Melty Blood's original story. In Tsukihime Plus Disc, Neko Arc reveals to Satsuki that the original story for Melty Blood had Ciel as the main character going up against a rival vampire hunter in a battle for the ages. This is what they would have looked like, and apparently he was supposed to use a shield which doubled as a pile bunker for his main weapon. He was designed before Scion, but was eventually replaced by her. The idea for a vampire hunter wielding a shield pile bunker was recycled for Rhys Bife, and his design obviously inspired what would become Knight of Wallachia. Can you imagine what a CL-centric Melty Blood would have looked like? The wind portraits are sentient. Did you know that the wind portraits in Type Lumina are alive? When transitioning between the windscreen and the fade to black, some portraits will change their expression. They can see you. This is obviously a bug, but a very spooky one. Or is it? And that was the Melty Blood Iceberg. I hope you enjoyed it. Honestly, I didn't expect it to go— Wait a minute, I'm not playing online. What's going on here? Well, looks like it's not over yet. Welcome to the final layer, the Neko layer. My guest has informed me that she'll be helping out on this layer, whatever that means. Neko Arc Origins. Neko Arc, like most characters in Melty, originate from Tsukihime. She wasn't a character in any of the roots. In fact, she wasn't a character at all. Originally, Neko Arc was a stylized, silly parody of Arcuade that would appear after bad endings in the CL Senpai sections. Over time, Type-Moon would use her more and more, and she evolved from being an Arcuade parody to a fully fledged character with her own personality, turning into the character we all love today. Neko Arc Chaos. Neko Arc Chaos is a Neko Arc version of Nero Chaos. His interests include smoking and watching anime. He first appeared in the PlayStation 2 version of Act Cadenza before becoming a fully playable character later on. Aside from using his moves and sharing a voice actor, Chaos has next to no relation to Nero. He also happens to be the worst character in Melty Blood history thanks to his slow attacks, low health, and terrible hitboxes. Is Neko Arc viable? The Neko Arcs are meant to be joke characters, but let's say you put the time in and grind the character. Would it be possible to win? Well, with Neko Arc Chaos, probably not. But if you can play around Neko Arc's many weaknesses and dedicate yourself to the art of Neko Arc, you'll win eventually. If we're talking Lumina though, Neko Arc is totally viable. I am a Neko Arc believer. She still has no range and low health, but has way more sauce, and if she gets lucky enough, she can mess you up. Big time. In all honesty, if you want to play a Neko Arc, you should. Things will be harder, but as long as you're having fun, that's all that matters. Neko Arc Chaos is Roa's kryptonite. Thanks to Neko Arc Chaos's small size and ability to crawl, he can duck a ton of projectiles, including Roa's infamous Timeless Thunder Needles. This gives him a huge leg up in the matchup. This just goes to show that even the worst of characters can have their advantages. Arc Drive and Last Arc references. Neko Arc's Arc Drive in Type Lumina is a parody of Saber's trademark Excalibur. Her sword transforms into an army of Neko Arcs who trample her opponent. Her last arc in Type Lumina is a direct reference to Carnival Phantasm. She works on the same rocket in the show with Shiro. In Melty Blood Actors Again, Neko Arc's last arc has Konoko Nasu's avatar come down from the sky and blow up the opponent. Speaking of last arcs, in Powered CLs, unlike other characters who collapse during its animation, Neko Arc stays standing. Neko Arc summoned the Fate characters. If you were wondering how the Fate characters could be in Type Lumina, well, you have Neko Arc to thank for that. Neko Arc summoned them herself to further her own mischievous goals, but ran out of Saint Quartz after summoning Ushiwakamaru and Count of Monte Cristo. Nya-MC Roll. Nya-MC Roll is Neko Arc's second arc drive. It's a reference to this sprite from Kagetsu Toya. She's one of the only characters to have a second arc drive. In classic Melty, the move reverses the opponent's controls on hit, and in Lumina it's unblockable but can be shielded. This attack does very low damage and is just used to troll. Neko Arc Heroines. In Neko Arc's story, she is trying to get back to her universe, but accidentally ends up in one where the main heroines of Tsukihime are also Neko Arcs, including Neko Ciel, Neko Hisui, Neko Kohaku, and Neko Akiha. Each Neko is voiced by their respective voice actor and can be unlocked after beating the story. These Nekos can sometimes appear in the gang of Nekos she summons during her arc drive. I wonder though, if all of the heroines in this universe are Neko Arcs, does that imply that there is a human Arcuade walking around with a Neko Shiki? Neko Arc's summon system. In Type Lumina, Neko Arc can place a call, and depending on her luck, different things will happen. For example, she can summon black keys, cat food, curry, spicy Mapo tofu. She can go on Twitter, which causes her phone to go on fire. She can summon Saber by playing Fate Go, summon Echo Arc, call multiple different Neko Arcs that can attack at a ton of different angles, the strongest being the one that slowly pulls a tire across the screen, and strangest of all, pull up a streaming setup.
こんばんは。グレカチャンネル始まるよ。
This may seem useless, but this thing makes it incredibly hard to see where she is on screen, especially if there are like 10 other Neko Arcs there at the same time. While the streaming setup is up, she has a chance of receiving a super chat that can give her health or super meter. To balance this out, she can only get the streaming setup once per round. This sounds funny, and it is, but when this shit happens to you in a tournament match, it is one of the most stressful things ever, but really funny in retrospect. Only a character like Neko Arc would be able to pull something like this off. Neko Arc CL is not a real CL. As mentioned before, one of the items Neko Arc can summon is a bowl of curry. It heals every character the same amount except CL, who gets extra HP. Neko CL, however, does not get this buff, proving that she is not a real CL and cannot be trusted. True Ancestor I-Beam reference. Neko Arc's I-Beam special move is a homage to another Japanese cat creature thing, Dejiko from DG Charat. I guess weird cat monsters can just shoot lasers out of their eyes. Neko Arc Tekken reference. Neko Arc has a Tekken reference in Type Lumina. She has a 10-hit combo that is a direct homage to the series' 10-hit strings. This isn't the only reference in her moveset, as the charged version of her Flame Breath is a parody of Shin Godzilla, and when she performs her body splash attack, she will sometimes utter the phrase,
Esports.
Neko Arc's op list. Neko Arc has a long list of ops. These include CL, Miyako, White Len, Aoko, Shiki, Akiha, Hisui, Satsuki, and her biggest op being Kohaku, who has tried many times to eradicate Neko Arc and her kind. Despite this, she always comes back more annoying than ever. George Lucas is canon. In Neko Arc Chaos's arcade mode, Kohaku tricks him by leaving a personal ad in the paper inviting him to Hollywood to star in a movie. Kohaku impersonates George Lucas, the creator of Star Wars. This means that George Lucas is canon to Melty Blood and Type-Moon. It's only a matter of time before he's added in Fate Grand Order. Neko Arc UI change. In Type Lumina, most characters have their names appear by their feet on the character select screen, but not Neko Arc. Because she has a huge bulbous head, her nameplate is moved and rotated so you can see her amazing face. Neko Arc is bigger than Type Moon. In 2021, Neko Arc went from being a strange cat creature from a Japanese visual novel company to a worldwide recognized meme. But why then, of all years, if she's been around since the early 2000s? Well, it's all thanks to the renewed interest in Tsukihime thanks to the remake. Thanks to clips of Carnival Phantasm, her sprites, and her funny noises, she's become so popular that more people know about Neko Arc than they do about Tsukihime, Melty, or even Fate Grand Order. In my opinion, Neko Arc got so popular simply because she has an appealing design. Plus, the internet loves cats. So it's no surprise Neko Arc became an internet superstar. If you're a fan of Tsukihime, Melty Blood, or anything Type Moon, just know that Neko Arc will always be our legacy. Okay, so now we're officially done with the Melty Blood Iceberg. I truly hope you enjoyed it. It took a lot of effort. Special thanks to Neko Arc for coming. She did a great job. Good job, Neko. A super special thanks to the person who helped me make the Neko Arc puppet. They went above and beyond. If you enjoyed their handiwork, please let them know in the comments. It would mean a lot to them. Whew, I'm beat. Talking about useless nonsense for an hour really gets you tired. But we've got no time for rest, because next time on Type-Moon June, we're closing out our month-long event. Last year, we watched an anime that doesn't exist. And this year, it's all about one everyone's forgotten. Until that time comes, have a happy Type-Moon June.